Abu Lahab, the state that arrives before you decide. You have never seen yourself angry. You have been angry many times, but you have never stood outside yourself and watched what happens to you when anger arrives. If you had, you would understand why the record dedicated an entire surah to a single state of the human mind, not a man, a state. Perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he. 5 verses, the shortest of diagnosis, the most precise. Abu Lahab, translated literally, the father of flame. Not the flame itself, the father of it. Meaning, the one who generates the conditions of the fire before the fire exists. And his wife, the carrier of firewood. She does not ignite, she prepares. Here is the architecture. Anger, in this map, is not the problem. Anger is the symptom. The problem is what arrives before the anger. The accumulation, the narrative, the story you told yourself quietly, repeatedly, about what was done to you, what was said about you, what was taken from you. The story is the wood. And she carried it, and stacked it, and waited, until the smallest spark, a word, a look, a message left unread, and Abu Lahab arrives, not as a choice, as a condition. In the dialogue, Musa is confronting his structure directly. He says, "So Abu Lahab was accompanying me throughout that entire period." Musa returned to his people, angry and sorrowful, and I clashed with Aaron. But the moment I set him aside, got rid of him, my speech changed, my words became calm, certain. And when the anger subsided from Musa, he took up the tablets, and in their inscription was guidance and mercy. Read that again slowly. When the anger subsided, he picked up the tablets, not before. This is not a moral instruction. This is a structural observation. The tablets, the laws, the clarity, the capacity of guidance were there the entire time, but they could not be held while Abu Lahab was present. خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَطْوَارًا. We created you in stages. Abu Lahab is not a phase you pass through once and leave behind. He is a recurring condition, one that returns whenever the wood is stacked high enough. The question is never, will he arrive? The question is, who is stacking the wood, and when did she start? Let me show you what this looks like in the world you actually live in. Not in history, now. Someone disagrees with you online. Their argument is wrong, genuinely wrong. You notice something shift in your chest before you have finished reading their words. That shift, that is not Abu Lahab yet, that is his wife, laying the first piece of wood. Then you read the comments beneath, others agreeing with them, your position being dismissed, your intelligence being questioned, or perhaps only implied to be questioned, or perhaps you only imagined it was implied. It does not matter. By now, the wood is stacked, and your next response will not come from your intellect. It will come from the flame, and you will call it conviction. The ego says something to Musa about this moment that I want you to hear carefully. You revolted against your worldly concept with all your vigor, because Abu Lahab was beside you, fueling you. When you sensed that, you flipped 180 degrees, because you knew any decision made in a moment of anger will be of no use to you. Any decision made in a moment of anger will be of no use to you. Not anger is weakness, not anger is wrong. Anger, while Abu Lahab is present, produces decisions that do not belong to you. They belong to the wood. They belong to the accumulation. They belong to the story that was being written quietly, without your notice, long before the spark arrived. Now the question I want to carry from this episode, not about anger itself, about the wife. What is the narrative you return to? The one you rehearse when you are alone? The story about what's done to you? Who misunderstood you? What was taken? What was never acknowledged? That story, every time you return to it, she lays another piece of wood. You do not need to stop being angry. You need to learn to recognize the sound of wood being stacked before the flame has a reason to exist. There is one more thing. The surah ends with 5 words about her. Around her neck, a rope of twisted fiber. Not a chain placed by someone else. A rope she carries herself, twisted, meaning it draws its anger continuously, like a wick drawing oil, to sustain the flame. The narrative that feeds the anger is not imposed on you from outside. It is something you return to, something you maintain, something that, if you are honest, you have sometimes chosen. That is not an accusation. That is a door.